Hello, good morning, good afternoon from the USA and Zurich, Switzerland. My name's Allison Malika and I'm from Apps Events, and I'm joined here today with the folks from the Inter-Community School in Zurich. I want to give you a little background on how we got here, but the star of the show is really Google Sites, the new Google Sites. In 2016, June actually, Google Sites became available to selected early adopters who were eager to try it out and put the new Google Sites to the test. In September, Apps Events hosted, with partnership with the Inter-Community School in Zurich, hosted a Google Summit, and I had the opportunity to meet the innovative and very wonderful folks and teachers over at that school. And we had a great time kind of going through the Google Sites, and I learned that they have been doing some really amazing stuff. They just jumped right on board and started using the sites right away and made them public. You know, it wasn't just, oh, we're trying it out behind the curtain. They've actually created them and they're using them to communicate with their parents. And they've even started to create the portfolio system with the new sites. So the exciting piece about hosting this Hangout today is that Google officially announced the live rollout to the world yesterday, November 9th. So many schools who are on rapid release already are seeing the new Google Sites. Those of you who aren't seeing it and wondering, hey, what am I missing? It's because your school may be on the delayed release, and so you'll see that roll out within the next couple of weeks. But the good news is Google has announced that the sites are actually here to stay and ready for everyone to embrace them. And I'll post a link to the blog post that kind of outlines the timing, because there's some questions about migration and when is the old sites going away. So we'll share all that information in the description of this broadcast later on. So I'm not here to do much other than to introduce the real guests or the stars of the show. These are folks, kindergarten teachers from the Inter-Community School. We have Trista, Kate, Karen, and we have John Micton here helping facilitate on the Zurich end. So ladies, allow me to allow you to introduce yourselves.
Hey, hello, my name is Trista Ramaki.
I am Kate Bowen.
I am Karen Livingston.
And today we're going to start with just a bit of background about how we actually use Google Drive that really helps us making our Google site. So basically our school had Google Drive as our platform for sharing documents, and we found that my favorite thing, organization, is very important when we use Google Drive. So we shared our documents kind of systematically. We found that we spent the first year sort of figuring out what works for us and how to organize them, and then we kind of put our plan in place for this year. So making sure that we have folders and then subfolders, which actually, if we could go to the drive, I can show you what that looks like.
Great.
So we have here just a list of all of our folders that we've created. And then if we go, for example, we have units of inquiry. So we would have a folder for that. And within there, we have subfolders about documentation, photos and resources, the arts, and Germans. So that's another reason why we find this very useful, is that we can have all teachers collaborating, not just ourselves as the classroom teacher, but also specialists that can easily access and share the documents within each other or with each other. And that's it. So yeah, we like to share this with everybody, but what was also key within sharing everything is just making sure that we have templates and agreements set up for the documents that we use. So for example—
Can I ask, what do you mean by agreements? I saw that in the show notes.
Our agreements are kind of, we sit down together and we kind of, with, for example, the documentation agreement, we went through and there was a document that said, for example, this unit, we will use sort of these colors and this font, and then all of the teachers using it understand what is required and kind of what to use, and so then we can follow through. So it brings kind of the cohesion among all of the collaborators for the work that we put onto the site.
Wow, that's really great. And I know other people would have missed that and they would have said, "What's that? What is that agreement?" That is a real true attention to detail. Good for you.
Yes, like I said, we like to organize and have all these things, and we found definitely the more organized you have it, kind of the easier it is to then find the things to be able to put them onto the website. So you're not kind of searching around your drive trying to find things, that it's really kind of organized and what works for you.
So you start out with your plan and you create your shared folders and docs, and you all understand what the agreement is on the fonts and the colors. And that's your base for building your site.
Yeah, for kind of our documentation, which is kind of what we call is the sharing of the learning. So we kind of write up what's happening in the classroom. We'll have writing, we'll have pictures. And so those are connected to, with our IB school, we have our units of inquiry.
Okay, and oh, we're frozen.
Unit.
Okay, we froze for a minute there. I don't know if the live broadcast did or not.
No, I think you were good.
Okay, we're back. I'm back. Whatever I thought was frozen is unfrozen now. Okay, great. Is there a way we can, before we go, do a little backwards design, you can kind of show us the site early on? Because I know folks are just like chomping at the bit to see your Google site. Thank you. So this is your drive. I see that. This is where any documents or planning or shared docs stem from, right? Even your shared newsletters, are they in this collection as well?
Yeah, exactly. So what we can do is, yeah, we've kind of, like I said, organized folders based on what we use. So for example, here are the newsletters that we can, all of us can collaborate on them either before or even we'll talk about once they're onto the website, that everybody will have access to being able to input onto these documents.
All right, great. And then here we have a new Google site with your school logo, I see.
Yep.
All right, you want to walk us through the setup?
Sure. There is,
Maybe this is
maybe going to Kate.
Yeah.
We can.
Okay, Kate.
So I'll pass over. So I'm Kate. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we found really successful as we were putting the site together, and hopefully within that we can give you a little bit of a walkthrough as well. So as Trista said, we use Google Drive to organize everything, which was our major success because it allowed us to have access to all of the documents and build the site quite quickly. So we weren't really in a position where we were having to create new content to add to make it ready to go out. We were sharing things that we'd already made, that we'd shared with parents and the community, maybe in other formats. Maybe they were printed and on the walls, or maybe they'd been emailed as attachments. Just pull everything together. So if you maybe just go to the site there, John. So as you can see at the top, these were the menus that we created. So we have one for each of our units of inquiry that we've explored so far. The arts, because we have a specialist art teacher that works with us, so that creates a stuff that she can share. German is another one of our specialisms that she can also share there. Waldkinder is our outdoor education program. So this is a great place. We share a lot here, photographs, videos, documentation, information, and you can see as we go through, we use Google Photos, Google Docs, and Google Slides. We kind of use a little bit of a mixture of each.
Oh, I want to pause you right there on that screen. I'm noticing your, I know the question would be, how did you do that? How do you get your pictures? How do you get that collage with that header there on your site?
So it kind of goes back a little bit to what Trista was saying about having shared agreements and templates. So we work with some very talented people who create very beautiful documentation. So within our drive, we also have a shared space where we can all add examples of beautiful documentation, which we can then change the text, change the photographs. So it's not necessarily recreating the wheel every time. You can replace images and replace text in a new document.
And that looks like a slide?
Yeah, that one's done using Google Slides. Flipping now to another one of our areas. And you can see at the top we have the little bit of text that explains what this unit of inquiry is about. Again, that one's another slide. So families can, as they're looking at it, they can just sort of flick through the slides. We find that works the best. to share it in slides. It's really easy to create beautiful documentation in slides. You can add, as you can see, text, photographs, scanned examples of children's work, and it's really easy to pull together.
You know, I think this is one of the ahas that can seem so obvious, but really innovative in your approach to using the slide. That you're resizing single slides, adding and layering images and text and all sorts of objects. Now, I think most teachers are pretty comfortable making a slide. So what you're saying is, if you're just getting started with sites, or you've always been challenged and you want to get information out fast and you're good making slides, you can do a lot with a Google slide, make it public, and then just insert it in your website.
Exactly. And what was really good for us is we were already using Google Slides. Like Trista said, that was something we'd started to explore last year. So we'd gone from them maybe being quite simple to adding more detail, more complex, sort of really working on the aesthetics of them, you know, using color-coded systems and making sure we're adding the learner outcomes and that sort of thing. So we already kind of had all those things in place to then be able to share them. So for us, Google Slides was like, wow, this makes total sense for us because it's sharing what we already do. It wasn't another layer of, you know, something that we had to learn or something that we had to create content for. We already work in this way. So for us, the simplicity of the Google site was its beauty, really, because it's so simple to add content to and to resize and reposition and sort of make it look beautiful. So this is another page that was a really nice one for us to be able to add. Another little sort of side project that we've been doing this year is making books with the children, which we print as little readers, but we also can share them as ebooks with families. So it's a really nice way for the children to be able to share with the parents things that have been happening at school in a very child-friendly format. So we have documentation, which is, you know, got a lot of information about the learning, but then these kind of more simple little books that parents can just pop out and they can read together on the computer.
Oh my goodness gracious. And this is, you know, I am always asked by kindergarten and primary teachers, what can I do with Google? What can we do with Google? I'm a kindergarten teacher. I can't really use it. What? Okay. Thanks for the evidence.
So I'll just, sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
So like I say, that was the kind of initial main success for us, was that how it was super easy to learn. Lara and John worked with us, walked us through the sort of basics, and that was great for us. Like, this is how you add text, this is how you add images, this is how you link to your Google Drive, this is how you make pages, and that was kind of all we needed to really get going with it. So that's kind of been the main success for us. Also, it was really nice, even after just sending it out for the first time. So we share it every other week, we publish, and we share it with families. And we immediately got some really nice positive feedback from parents. One of Trista's parents sent her an email and said the photos really help her daughter to remember what she did in school, which was really nice for us because kindergartners go home and they say, what did you do today? I can't remember. And this is like a great way for parents to be able to say, oh, look, there's a photograph here, or there's a video here, and to be able to really share their learning with the children. So that was great. And also, another thing that was really nice feedback that came from parents was they really felt it was a very sleek design, which we also agree with. We like it as well, how it's very clear and very professional looking. So I think we really liked that, didn't we? That we felt we created something that looked very professional with sort of minimum technical effort, really.
It really does look very, very clean. Exactly what you say, slick, clean, and professional. Those are the things that I observed straight away.
Yeah, that's what we like about it, definitely. One of our other things that we really like about it is, of course, we're a team of 3 teachers, and then we have, like I say, we have a German specialist teacher, we have an arts specialist teacher who also want to contribute to our site. So what we really like about it is that we can all be updating and adding things to it whenever we want to. We all have shared access, and also all have shared access to the Google Drive that Tristan was saying, so we're all adding to the same drive as well, and everything is uploaded from the same place, which means that we can get more content uploaded each time that we share it, and it also means that the multiple perspectives of the different people can all be added at the same time. Oh yeah, so this page is sort of upheld by our arts integration atelier Andrea, and she adds very beautiful documentation and videos and photographs that help parents to also see what's happening when they're working with her as well.
Kate, can you just go back to the arts page where we're not on screen share? So I want to, if you could set us back to the site, and I want to just capitalize on what you said about the arts so that folks can see that the example you have there. Yeah. All right. So yes. Okay. So up at the top, I'm looking at the navigation, and I see the arts. Now this website that you're using is shared with the arts teacher that updates this page?
Yeah, so she is an equal sort of collaborator to the site, so she uploads it herself. She takes charge of uploading her own.
You know, that is brilliant in itself. You know, folks traditionally have, like, the art teacher would make their own website and then have a K page, a 1 page, a 2 page. Yeah. But then they have to maintain a whole website, and then the parents have to leave your site to go to the art site, and it just seems like this is more logical in terms of meeting the needs of your target audience, but also not having so many teachers all maintain independent entire websites when they can be contributors to the websites that they need to be.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we really like as well. And what we try to do is, because of course we're moving as much as possible to being completely transdisciplinary, so although she supports us with dance, drama, music and visual arts, she's also working within our units of inquiry. So what we try and do is post things in multiple places to help parents to see those links that
yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah, like for example, at the moment she's exploring some work about making puppets through a visual arts form, which supports work that we're doing in our How We Express Ourselves unit. So photographs and things can be shared within the arts, but also shared within the unit of inquiry to help parents see those links as clearly as possible.
How often do you update the web page together, or is it always done now independently, or do you do anything like at the same time, like let's work on this together?
So what we do is we use it kind of quite in a kind of live edit kind of way, and then every other Friday we, Karen, should I say, is in charge of pressing the big button. She publishes it, so any new content that's been added becomes live, and then we resend the link to families via our weekly email.
Oh,
and
got
so
it.
The nice thing that we do is, if there's certain things that we really want them to see, we'll say photographs from this week's, whatever it is, can be found here, and we put the specific links into the different folders as well, so that we're really kind of making it clear where everything is for them, because they're still getting used to the format as well.
Wow, that's really great. I love it. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll pass you over to Karen now.
All right. Yes, Karen, if you want to switch back just so Karen can say hi, so we know who Karen is.
Am I hearing?
John, I'm keeping you busy. Yeah, hello, Karen. Transitioning a little from the background and what you have created, you have some things you want to share with us today.
Yeah, so Kate and Trista have shared a little bit about kind of what happened before and the successes that we've had. But obviously with anything that's new for a team and anything that's quite new as technology, there's going to be some challenges. So just to talk through some of the things that we found we had to kind of come up with workarounds for, or that we had to try out different things. And so one or two things were small little logistical things that at the very beginning seemed like big problems, but then we were easily able to find another solution. So maybe if we jump back to the...
Okay, thanks.
And I don't know if we can go into the edit version or just the final version of it.
Are
you signed into your account, or are you in John's account?
Yeah, we're going into edit mode here.
Okay.
Just,
so initially we had all of these ideas, and we really wanted this site to be a space to share all of the things that happen in the classroom, and not just kind of the final little piece of documentation that we might make. So we had visions of having multiple folders for photographs for different events. And so we discovered that we could really only add in we could have our drop-down menus at the top, and then we could have one little indent from that. And so we were kind of struggling as to think, how can we organize this? And so I think figuring out some of those initial challenges of what kind of things we want to have as our different drop-down menus, and we have 3 different classes. Where do we want to split it so each class has access to something? And what can we do with all of those extra photographs? And so we were left with then trying to figure out what other Google tools do we use that we could use instead of having galleries full of photos. And that's where using things like Google Slides and Google Photos has been really successful. So if we look to, actually in this one, there's some documentation of some of the work that the children did, which is nice for the parents to see, but parents always are most interested in what their specific child is doing. And so it's nice then to be able to offer them more access to more things. So if they click on this, then they'll get access to more photographs and videos. So it gives them a little bit, hopefully this will work, it gives them a little bit more so they can have a little bit more of an understanding. And initially, we found it a little bit harder to integrate Google Photos within Google Drive, but that seems to have been something that now is much easier.
Well, if you can just pause for a moment there, because I don't think you guys know how much you're sharing with the world. So the question I often get is photos. How do I deal with photos? And you just answered the question. So I want to back up the bus here. What you were saying was you have these photos in Google Photos. You wanted like maybe possibly embed this in your web page. You couldn't find that option, so you took a photo and linked it to the photo album.
Yes.
And you called the photo album materials, and there's a photo right there is kind of like the lead, and your folks know to click on a photo because you put in a text box there, and they click on it, and boom, there they are in the gallery with a little redirect. Okay, that's no problem. I love it, and I think the audience is going to love that too. And the tech integration specialists and the people that are in charge of answering these questions as people are adopting new Google sites, that's going to be a burning question dealing with photos, because for many years people used a tool called Picasa, and they could easily have photo albums and embed them in their Google sites, and the change has not been good since they closed Picasa. So you've really showcased something that can be very helpful for folks who want to display a lot of photos or link to an album. Thank you.
And I think then stemming from this and trying to find solutions to that problem was the other issue that we've had to, again, come up with solutions for, which is to do with permissions and accessibility. And so in trying to think, well, who has access to the site? Is it something that parents need a link for? Is it something that we're going to give kind of access more freely, or how do we contain that? Which are obviously bigger questions that schools will decide for themselves. But one of the challenges that we have is just to make sure that everything we share, that we've changed the permissions to make sure that it is something that now can be shared outside of our internal school database. And quite often we will click the publish button and then go back and check it and see that there's a blank page somewhere that we have to go back and change. So yeah, I think that's a good one for us, that we just have it built in. Before we click the publish button, we open it again in a different browser or in incognito mode. Just make sure that if we're looking at this not logged into our own Google Drive, that we'll still be able to see the same things.
Yeah, that's super important, because especially if one were to adopt a lot of your techniques with the Google photo albums need to be shared publicly, or with a group of people as an audience, your slides need to be shared, your docs need to be shared. So anything you're pulling in from Google Drive needs to be shared with either specific people or anyone with the link can view. And definitely what Karen was saying is you really have to open an incognito window and go through your site and make sure everything is shared, because otherwise you'll get inundated with requests for sharing once you go live.
There's actually, sorry, just to jump in quick, the one trick that we learned for that is when you are in the edit, you can just go.
That's coming next.
Yeah, that you can just open it right into the Google Drive if you're in there, and then you get this little box, and it will take you right to the Google Drive, so that you change the permission right there. So it's kind of a little bit quick way. Sorry.
That's fantastic. Good. That's good to know.
Yes.
Also, I'm looking if we can bounce back to your. On the right-hand side, you're kind of hovering. You have the Pages button selected, right? And you were kind of showing us the drop-down. You want to just tell us a little bit about how navigation works with the Google Sites?
So the thing that's been really nice for us is we had initially looked at using the old version of Sites last year, and we'd had some meetings about it, and we learned how to use it, but it was a bit less intuitive than this. And so when we were given the option this year to go with the old site or to try something brand new, when we played around with it, we realized, oh wait, we don't need training in this. This is just, you look around for it and you see, oh, there's a little plus. That probably means you can add a page. And so it's really like very, very easy to use. It's like new page. You can give it a name. And then we can add it in. And you can change the backgrounds for it. There's an option to change the image if you want to add something to make it a little bit more customized. But what's quite nice is there isn't so many customized options yet, so you don't become overwhelmed. So for people who aren't maybe as comfortable using technology, I think it's still quite easy for them to navigate around it and to figure out the different things that they can add in. They can click the insert one, and again, you can insert it directly from your drive. So if you have a good organization system that you use collaboratively, you're just going back in to see what things you already have and are already in place and adding them in.
Oh yeah, so when you have a page in Edit View, we're looking at the Insert menu where everything you need is there. And most often you're inserting from Drive, so the Drive menu is there. Great.
Yep. I want to add
Look at that.
a new newsletter. I've got it. It's something I've recently looked at. We insert it in. The other thing that we played about with a little bit was trying to figure out which file format to use for different things. And so we discovered that slides are good in some situations when you want to be able to have everything on one screen and kind of go through it. But we found then for newsletters that the docs were quite good because then parents can scroll quite easily down through the text if it's more text-based. And we just played about with resizing it to make sure that...
Wow, look at that. You don't have to guess how many pixels you need to make your doc in height. You just drag it until it is exactly the size you want it.
And there's some little bits where depending on if you're... I like things to look perfect, so sometimes I'll spend a lot of time on that. But again, that's you can play around with it and you have that little bit of control over it. And then having those multiple different file formats to use.
What if you wanted to see like what that looked like on the web? Is there a button up at the top where you could kind of do a preview?
Yeah, so again, and it's very intuitive. There's a little eye, and you hover over it, a little preview, and you can check and see, and it gives you the option then to look at the different types of devices that people or parents in our case might be using. So
right, because they're responsive web design now. I mean, that's one of the key features of the new sites is that they're responsive for the web where the old sites were not. That's great that you're able to demo that for us.
And again, it's quite interesting because most of the time we would just look at it on our computer screen, and parents quite often probably look at it on their mobile phone. And so to just being mindful of that is one thing, but to be able to actually within your computer then test that and see is really useful.
It is. And then how do you get back to your, I'm asking all sorts of questions.
I just press the X and that was it.
And I see the collaborate. What are the share settings? I see the little share person right next to that preview button there.
So then, again, this is for adding different editors in. So because we work collaboratively with this, then we can share it with specialist teachers, with other classroom teachers. We also share it with other people within our early years. So groups below, because we quite often want to check in and see what things they're doing, or they might have something to add to our site. All
right, so that's specifically for collaborators, and then their publish setting is for publishing to the web.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that comes back to, again, our biggest challenge has been to making sure that we've checked the individual documents. to make sure that those settings are correct.
And that's where you're going to address like the challenges or the nice job, Google, but I wish the new Google sites will eventually. Do you have some, yeah buts?
I mean, I think some of those things are that, like, we would love to be able to have more drop-down menus, or we would love to be able to have, have like multiple subfolders within things. Even within Google Photos, it's hard to change the accessibility options.
Yeah. So maybe some better solutions for the Google Photos in terms of, I'd like to have a photo album, I'd like to embed it on my website. I'd like a solution for that.
Or maybe like to have that it can be limited to access by these people, or kind of, we found that the security and access settings were slightly different within Google Photos than within Google Drive. So it was easier for us to make those changes within Docs or Slides.
I gotcha. I think there was something in the show notes about wishing, how you say you have to test and make sure everything is shared? Like, wouldn't it be nice if Google could make a, what did you say, like a notification tool? So if you did have a bunch of things embedded, if you just hit publish, it would say, oh, here's a list of the ones you haven't made public. Do you want to fix that? That's the red flag you guys are referring to, right?
Absolutely, because that's the biggest thing. You don't want to, you spend a lot of time on this and send it out to parents, and parents are busy too. So if they can't access it, they might not necessarily need to check it later to see if you fixed it yet. So.
Right. And you don't necessarily see that, if you're not a Google user, you don't necessarily see that you have an opportunity to ask for sharing. So you might just leave the site and not even go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gave us some really great tips. I mean, I think anyone viewing and hearing what you have to say and taking a peek at what you've shown so far could do a lot with Google Sites. I think we, before you go, I know you're going to show us a few more things. Don't forget to show people where to go to actually create a new site, because they will need you to tell them that. But go ahead and keep sharing, because there's just more, it looks like, that you've got to offer.
Okay, so when you are in a folder now, what you'll notice, if you go under New and More, you can actually create a Google site. So it's kind of sitting like a Google Doc. So basically the architecture has moved away from being a standalone and embedded within the architecture of a Google Drive. So you can make yourself a folder. So if I just went here, made a new folder, and I have my new folder that opens up. I open that up, and now when I right-click and go to More, I have my Google site right there.
Okay. Now, I did read in the blog that they said, oh, well, the sites retain the same permissions as Drive, like that kind of structure. However, my first thought was you still have to publish your site. So if you make a folder and you make it public on the web, and you make a site within that folder, it's not going to publish your site for you. You will have to publish your site. You have to
publish it yourself, and then you only have two options: anyone on the web or anyone at ICS.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's really fantastic.
And what's nice is that folder you can share, and then multiple people can see the folder. Or as they demonstrated, in your site, you can just add collaborators.
And I think the most powerful piece, this is the feedback I give when I'm with at a Google Summit and we're talking about new sites. My suggestion is what we did in Zurich is to create a site, share it with everyone in the room. Get your peeps that want to hack it and put it to the test, and have everyone editing in real time and sharing with each other. Like, look what I did. And I think that could be a really great hands-on way for your people to get started with the new Google Sites, because it's so fun to build a site collaboratively in real time, which we could never do before.
Exactly. So I'm going to switch us back because we're kind of coming to the end here, and I want to make sure that we invite our stars of the day.
Yes, thank you very much, ladies. You're sharing what you have done, doing what you have done. We all in the Google community applaud all the work you've done with John and individually.
I'm applauding.
Yes, well, the early adopter, the purpose of early adopter, the purpose of beta is for you to take that curiosity and actually do something with it. And it's so great that you didn't just play with it. You took it and you bought the product. You took it off the shelf and you started using it right away. And it's so great that we have this this broadcast recorded that can be shared, because I'll tell you, it's the hottest question in education. What is the new Google Sites? What does it look like? How do I use it? And to be able to showcase it from a kindergarten perspective, there's such a thirst of early childhood educators that want to know, how are other kindergarten and primary teachers using Google tools or Google Sites? And so what you've shared is invaluable, and I want to thank you on behalf of the Google community for doing what you did and sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
And we'll do some more next year in Zurich, and we'll keep leveling up, and we got to follow you guys because you're innovators. I want you to apply to Innovator Academy. You've got my vote. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and thank you, John. John, are you going to come out from behind that computer, or are you just going to hide that? Hi, John. All right. Well, thank you, and for all you folks out there, you can leave comments in the stream. It's on Google+, and we will be happy to answer them. If you +1 people, if you do a plus in the person's name, just so you know, in the comment, they'll get a notification, which will get you your response quicker. So we'll share the broadcast out. Please feel free to get in touch with John or any of the ladies on G+ or on Twitter, and ask away, and keep sharing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.